We are back. It's part 2 of our NFL mock draft day 1 preview, picks, analysis. With me, once again, Mike Zappy, San Antonio, Texas. Zappy is going to give you a brief rundown of what we've already done on our first part of this mock draft day 1.
So, pretty much it's looking like we're going to draft with no trades. At least nothing so far has happened, but just a quick recap. We had Bryce Young, the expected number 1 pick, go to the Carolina Panthers. Houston decided not to go quarterback and went Will Anderson. The Arizona Cardinals surprised everybody and took Christian Gonzalez at number 3. Number 4, the Colts got their quarterback. A questionable pick. Anthony Richardson's there, but I believe they went the safe route, taking Will Levis. Number 5, a great pick by the Seattle Seahawks, getting Jalen Carter. Number 6, Detroit. They were in a prime position that they were going to get a player they wanted no matter what. Devin Witherspoon was there. They took him. Number 7, Anthony Richardson fights himself a home, and he goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 8, CJ Stroud, a guy that I think was going to fall to Atlanta. He did. They took him. 9, Chicago Bears taking Khalil Kancey. Number 10, Philadelphia Eagles had many ways they could have gone, but they went Nolan Smith. Number 11, another surprise pick of the first round, the Tennessee Titans going Joey Porter. Number 12, the Houston Texans' second pick went to Jackson Smith and Jigba. 13, Green Bay, they traded away their quarterback to open up the door for Jordan Love, and they now have their security blanket and a tight end of Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. Number 14, the Patriots solidified their offensive line by drafting Paris Johnson. Number 15, the New York Jets surprised people and go ahead and bring in a tight end to complement Mr. Aaron Rodgers and that receiving core there in New York by going Michael Mayer. And number 16, the Washington Commanders solidified their offensive line by getting Peter Skoronski to play either guard, center, or tackle for them. The top 5 available players we have right now, of course, is who many people have ranked number 2 in their draft boards, and that's Bijon Robinson, at running back out of Texas. We're now approaching the area where we think he can go anywhere, starting the next pick all the way up to Dallas or even Buffalo, and as far as down to Philly. We have Brian Branch, the best safety in this year's draft. He's available. Miles Murphy, he is the best pass rusher left available, but there's also Tyree Wilson. And then Deonte Banks. There's plenty of great talent available. Been some surprises, but definitely an interesting one because we have the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock. And this is a team that, obviously they have Joey Porter Sr., a former player who is now coach for that great franchise, because they really are one. They wanted Joey Porter. He's not there. Then they wanted a tackle. He didn't drop. They wanted Paris Johnson to come in and protect Kenny Pickett, or they thought Peter Skoronski was going to fall to them, but Washington took him away. So I look at this team and I say, well, what does Pittsburgh need? I think they could use another wide receiver. They did trade away Chase Claypool, but they did also bring in Allen Robinson. And I think the Allen Robinson addition is actually going to be a good one for this team, as opposed to him playing along Cooper Kupp in L.A. So I could sit there and say Quentin Johnston. I could sit there and say Zay Flowers. But I'm going to keep my defense dominant. I'm going to go bring in Brian Branch, and I'm going to team him up with Minkah Fitzpatrick. And our secondary is already good. We're just going to make it even better. Brian Branch is off the board at number 17 to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I like this pick a lot, and because of the fact that the way I selected Joey Porter Jr. for Tennessee, I think this is a quality pick. Good job, Zappy. I like it. Good pick. That brings up the Detroit Lions. This is a team that recently moved on from Jamal Williams. So you definitely have the possibility of a Bijan Robinson sighting in Detroit, maybe. But this is also a team in the previous pick picked up a corner. What else does this team need? What does this team need, in your opinion? You got a decent amount of needs for sure. Tight end for one. They never quite replaced TJ Hawkinson. You got a defensive lineman potential. You got a wide receiver. I think what the Lions do here is go on the offensive side of the ball now. That's what I see them doing. And I've got them drafting Zay Flowers out of Boston College.
Good receiver. Good compliment. Oh, my gosh. Amon-Ra St. Brown is celebrating that pick, man. I think that is a great pick for Detroit and in an already dangerous offense. And you're just bringing in another weapon to that team. Oh, I love that pick. I really do. And let me tell you, the Kansas City Chiefs are not exactly happy with you right now.
No, but I have a feeling that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to trade for a very popular potential future Hall of Fame receiver. Potential.
I know who you're talking about.
Still has to pad some stats up before that happens. You like the pick?
I love the pick. I really do. I look at this Detroit Lions team. They already solidified their back end of their defense by going and drafting Devin Witherspoon. You could say Miles Murphy there, but you really don't need an edge rusher. You would need more of an interior defensive lineman, should I say. But Khalija Kancey's off the board. Obviously, Jalen Carter was off the board one pick before them earlier. I love the pick. I really do. I think he complements that offense greatly. There was no tight end here that was worth taking. Could have gone to a lineman, but I think you would have been reaching maybe a little. Could have looked at trading back, but Zay Flowers to come into that offense, I think will be a very, very good offense to watch. Which brings us to 19. 19.
Yeah, a team that is definitely in transition. We're speaking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay, man. And, I look at them and I say, all right, well, Tom Brady just retired.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of some stuff. We need to fix our offensive line still. We said we're going to invest in Kyle Trask for this season.
Oh, boy.
Is there
what that sounds like? That sounds like tanking politely.
Well, it's absolutely. And I think we're going to see certain teams tank because there is a guy out of USC that's going to be in next year's draft, and that is Caleb Williams. And then there's also Quinn Ewers that's out there that might get drafted. And if he decides to come out, because at UT right now, Arch Manning is breathing down his neck. So but if Quinn Ewers comes out and has himself a great season and puts UT into the college football playoff this year, he's going to be a top pick. This is a kid that was one of the highest rated quarterbacks to ever come out of high school. So anyways, so when I look at Tampa Bay, I don't think this is a position to be reaching for a quarterback. So I think, hey. Oh,
Zappy,
man.
I just realized something that we did here. We mistakenly flopped evens and odds.
No, we didn't.
You sure about that? Because I had the first pick of the draft, so
yeah, I go to the private chat.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I like it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Continue, sir.
And then I'm going to transition us back to the odds and evens.
Makes sense. Okay, so this is. I just want to make sure that we weren't stepping on each other here. This is your pick, sir.
All right. So just to let everyone know, so what I did was as I brought us in, I took over Pittsburgh's pick. That way, I would not have Detroit and Seattle again, where I'm picking twice for each team. So instead, it gives Richie the chance. That way, he can put his 2 cents on that team. So
makes sense. I like it.
I will transition back here shortly,
and I appreciate that because I didn't want to pick for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and I don't want to either. And now I'm like, gosh, what was I thinking?
Okay, let's see what he does here. Let's get creative.
I'm going to get creative, and this team, they need some help. They need some offensive line help. They need a tight end. They need a quarterback. They need defensive line. They need a safety. They wanted Brian Branch, but he is off the board. They want a quarterback. Is Hendon Hooker that guy? Once again, no, because this is a team where I don't necessarily think if you're going to draft one here, because you don't. Kyle Trask I think they're going to give him the season and tank.
Tank time.
A situation like we saw earlier in the draft, I think they're going to go tackle here. I think they're going to go Broderick Jones, and they're going to solidify that line again, and which was one of their biggest weaknesses this year as to why they finished the season the way they did. So Broderick Jones is picked at number 19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You're not going to believe me, But when I thought it was my pick initially, that's literally who I was going to pick, and I really do mean that.
Nice. Very nice. Well, either way, sir, you have Seattle on the clock.
I do indeed.
And we talk about this team who they already drafted Jalen Carter earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
This team has a lot of draft equity in this year's draft after already drafting the amount of players they did in last year's that became eventual starters for that team. You're Seattle, you can go many directions in this one. Certainly. I want to know what you're going to do.
I think for now, you're good at receiver. There are needs on the offensive line. Of course, quarterback. Right now, I don't think you necessarily have the best things you want to pick for because, once again, we said this earlier in the show, Geno Smith is not that young. I believe that the proper pick here is an edge rusher to go along with what you already did earlier, which was get pretty good stopper on the run. I'm going Lukas Van Ness, edge rusher out of Iowa.
Lukas Van Ness, I like it. I definitely wanted edge rusher there if I'm Seattle. Yeah, you got Jalen Carter to solidify the interior. Why not solidify your pass rusher? And I thought you could have gone Lukas Van Ness here. I thought you could have gone Myles Murphy. I don't really think you could have gone a wrong way with this pick. And that's the beautiful thing about having 2 first in the draft, So
yeah, because you don't have to have that extra pressure. Similar to what the Giants did last year, 5 and 7. You get Neal, you get Thibodeau, you get 2 guys that you needed.
Yeah, and it happens that way, and that's what I love about this. But we are here, and I'm on the clock right now. And guess what? I got in trouble because I was talking to Tom Brady and Sean Payton, and therefore Roger Goodell came into me and said, "I'm sorry, we're going to have to forfeit your pick." So somehow, some way, Richie, you're back on the clock at 21. I had to forfeit my pick.
Okay. Los Angeles Chargers team coming off an incredibly disappointing finish to an up and down season, to put it bluntly. Justin Herbert, one of the true young stars in this league. Austin Eckler, not the happiest person in that camp right now. He even requested a trade. They kind of been like, leave me alone. You're not getting traded. By the way, he was one of my best players in fantasy. That led me to a tie with that man right there in the famous Cheddar in the Sun League. Zappy is not going to be happy with my pick, and I kind of like it that way. Bijan Robinson is going to the former San Diego Superchargers. Not so super anymore, but they are in LA now.
Yeah, honestly, if I was picking for them, it was between Bijan and Zay Flowers. It was if I had this pick and if Zay Flowers was there, it was going to be Zay Flowers, but he was already taken off the board. So I think in this position, you can go Jordan Addison, you can go Quentin Johnston.
And I thought about it too momentarily, but it was like literally a fleeting moment. This is the pick here. This is the pick here.
I think this one makes the most sense for this.
They got to stand out in that division because you got the Raiders that are going to be doing some things. They got to stand out in that division. What do they have better than maybe the other teams? Put him with Eck? Not for nothing.
But the one thing you can say about this Los Angeles Chargers team is you're talking about them in that division. They've got to stop a lot of these cornerback or these receivers in that division. So I think you could have gone Deonte Banks there.
You could have.
To solidify, especially after what happened to your highly recruited free agent signing from the New England Patriots that tore his ACL. And once JC Jackson went out, that hurts your defense a lot, so you have to take that into consideration. But Bijan makes a lot of sense as you implement Kellen Moore into that system, who likes to utilize 2 running backs. You'll have Eckler there for at least a year,
possibly
at least
longer.
1 year,
possibly
longer, as he has quickly realized that his worth is not what he once thought it was. But if you can team up those 2, it'd be a fun offense to watch. I like
this will remind some folks potentially of LaDainian and Michael Turner. I'm taking it back a little.
Oh, yeah. But it leads us to number 22, the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't do the trade. I was going to actually do a trade earlier, and it was going to involve Lamar Jackson going to the Colts, and I was going to trade it with the number 4 pick, and then Baltimore was going to draft Anthony Richardson, but I decided not to go that route. I approached this draft as if Baltimore is going to be re-signing Lamar Jackson. That is how I approached it.
They brought him OBJ. I think he's actually really pleased that OBJ is there, even though he's not pleased with some of the other dynamics of what's happening.
Exactly. And I still think there's other players that can be input into that system. They had Rashad Bateman, but he got hurt. They can use another wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They can go cornerback here. They could also go defensive edge rusher. They can go linebacker. There's many ways they can go, and they have a bevy of choices here. You talk about Myles Murphy is still there for them. There's Deonte Banks, and there's Jordan Addison. You brought in OBJ. You have Rashad Bateman. You want Lamar Jackson just signed a 5-year, $233 million fully, or $260 million, $233 guaranteed. But he's not going to sign it until he hears Jordan Addison has been drafted.
You made the pick. You made the pick that I was going to make. I like it.
I think you put him into that system where he can not only learn from OBJ, but he'll be able to play in the slot and then work his way outside because he's very similar to OBJ's style of play. So I like it. I think he fits that system very well. And I think it makes Lamar very happy as well as Mark Andrews.
I don't see how Lamar couldn't be happy after that. It's so necessary. The dude never had a number 1 receiver. He has had a top 5 tight end for the better part of the last few years. But the thing is like, never truly a number 1 receiver. They tried to see old man Dez, dust him off, see if he could do it. He actually had good production, all things considered. OBJ is a phenomenal talent. If he could stay healthy, he could help this team win some ball games in a very tough division. Jordan Addison's a great pick here. I love it.
Absolutely. But that now brings on this team at number 23, sir, the Minnesota Vikings. They have been trying for the last 2 hours to trade up because there's a certain quarterback they've been trying to get. But they're like, well, we also need defensive players. We need cornerbacks. We need wide receivers. Richie, you are Minnesota. What are you going to do here?
This is too easy for me. This is just too easy for me. Is it a reach? I don't know, dude. Possibly. But this is a team that's going to need a quarterback in a couple of years. I'm going Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee.
I love it. That's the pick that makes the most sense. You have Kirk Cousins for 1 more year under contract. You have him for 1 more year. You have Hendon Hooker coming off an ACL injury where now he does not need to be rushed into the starting position. He can learn behind Kirk,
this is a good situation
grow with Justin Jefferson, and you have Kevin O'Connell there, who is now going into his 2nd year.
And he's very good play caller.
He is. And what people need to understand, and I could be wrong, but the Vikings are going to take a step back, probably a couple.
Some people might get mad at this pick when it happens, if it happens, because of the way that their defense got incinerated last year. But this is a pick for your future in a quarterback-driven league.
Yeah, exactly. You could have said it any better myself. And I think right here that pick makes the most sense. It's also, getting him at 23, you have the 5th-year option now available to you. Yeah, there's a lot of positives. So yeah, I love it. I love the pick.
You remember earlier in the show the previous show where I said that the Raiders pick, although not the top quarterback picked, might have the best career. I think this guy has the potential to be in that same conversation.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. There's no question about that.
All right. The Jaguars are up. They certainly don't need a quarterback.
They do not need a quarterback. And we're talking about a Jaguars team that got hot last year.
They certainly
did.
Are
now the talk of the town. And you have Calvin Ridley coming soon, So this Jaguars team is going to be
Evan Ingram had a career year with Mr. Lawrence.
He did, and they're trying to re-sign him to a long-term deal. So he's not going anywhere. There's certain positions here. They have a young defense that's growing.
Yeah, their defense is pretty good right now.
If I'm Jacksonville, I look at there's a couple of things. Well, I see Myles Murphy and I see Deonte Banks there. I think to myself, do I need to really improve my line? Yeah, I do. That was one of our weaknesses, and we need to improve the interior of our offensive line. I think Richie might be a little upset with me. I know I'm going to be upset with me,
I know what you're going to do.
but the Jacksonville Jaguars need to continue to protect Trevor Lawrence and give him time to throw to the bevy of wide receivers here. And for that, they are going to be going right down the road to Gainesville, Florida, and they are going to draft Cyrus Torrance, guard out of Florida, to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Throw me a bit of a curveball there.
Yeah, and I was thinking Miles Murphy and I was thinking Deonte Banks. I thought Darnell Wright would have been a good pick there, but it wasn't really the tackle position that was bothering. It was the inside. And so I really had to look at it and I think, well, who is there available? And for me, this pick makes the most sense because you have to protect who is your franchise quarterback.
Yes, sir.
So,
well,
yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to feel too bad because there are still some pretty good ball players here that can definitely help my New York Football Giants, who are picking at 25. There are two in mind, and both I think would be phenomenal picks. They have a center out of Minnesota, John Michael Schmitz, who I really think the versatility that this kid brings is legitimately awesome. And once again, pass-happy league. We can go Deonte Banks, who I think at this point you're getting all kinds of value out of the University of Maryland. But I have to go back to the offensive line here. This is a team that I think is a lot closer on defense than they are on offense. Were it not for Saquon Barkley and some real tricky RPOs and the emergence of a practice squad player turned stud in Mr. Isaiah Hodgins, Giants don't pull off some of that magic last year. You got to get back to running the football. You got to get back to committee backfield. You got to get back to punching people in the mouth and playing Giants football. It's how we won things in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. John Michael Schmitz is my man. They did grab a center who is a stopgap, but this boy can come in right now, play either guard or the center position. Draft this man. He's the right pick.
I love it. Oh, man, that pick makes so much sense for the Giants.
And I'm even giving him a nickname. I'm not even going to put his whole name down.
JMC. Oh, I like it. But it's JMS.
I know, but the way you say it, the Schmidt.
But yeah, no, I think it's honestly, I even posted it I commented on Quentin's post earlier. He was talking about he's excited to hear, and he was saying Jalen Hyatt, where I put my input and I said, I think it's going to be John Michael Schmitz or it's going to be Jack Campbell, the linebacker out of Iowa. I think either of those. The
Giants will finally draft a linebacker in round one. Finally,
yeah, and that's why
Carl Banks.
Man, and that's why, and I think he looks like a Giant, just the way he plays. It's just the way he plays. I think he fits that system perfectly. And I think of whenever you guys have a good middle linebacker, you guys have a good defense. So, but then when I look at the offensive line, I thought John Michael Schmidt makes so much. But also
our free agency edition also leads us to this pick because we got ourselves a quality linebacker in the offseason.
Absolutely. And I love it. I love this pick. That's the direction I was going to go. And that brings us to me. You probably thought, all right, Michael Mayer, Bijan Robinson, let's get them off the board. Let's get Cyrus off the board. What is he going to do? I already have an answer for this. I have an answer, and this is actually a dream scenario of mine. I don't want us to be in a position where we're going to have Michael Mayer and Bijan Robinson there. I want Bijan. I really do. As much as I would love to have Bijan on this team, if he's there, you take him. There's no question about it. You take him there at 26. Dallas may trade up. I think they can trade up as high as 18 to get Bijan. But he's not there. They are infatuated with Michael Mayer. I thought he was going to drop to Dallas.
Right.
You took him to Green Bay at number 13.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two offensive linemen in this year's draft for the first round that I really love. One of them is Cyrus Torrance. I think he could be put into that left guard position and start day one. The other one is to help solidify our tackle position. You drafted Tyler Smith last year to be Tyron Smith's replacement. Tyron Smith is still back.
No, you're assuming that if Osiris didn't go with that other pick that you made for Jacksonville, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is I think this draft is a draft where Dallas goes, they've got to go offensive line.
There's a player from the runner-ups in the college football world that I think could be a quality player for your team or my team, even though I did pick a different player. I'm curious to see where you go here.
Well, I've got like I said, Terrence Steele, you signed him to a 1-year deal. He signed his tender offer.
Mm-hmm.
Tyron Smith is on his way out. We need to get a tackle, but we also need a guard. We need a one technique. There's really no one. You can go Mozzie Smith.
Yeah, you got to go down a little to see this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dallas is going to continue to go with that offensive line. Osiris is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right. They're going to solidify the right side. And Darnell Wright, he is going to be drafted by the Dallas Cowboys at number 26.
Good pick.
And it's the safe pick, but at the same time, Dallas had such a good offseason where they can put themselves in position where they don't have to reach for anybody. They could take best player available. They could have gone edge rusher. There's multiple receivers that are still there, but the one they liked was Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison. They're both off the board. You could have gone Jahmyr Gibbs, but I believe Dallas in the second or third round is going to address the running back position. I think that now they would have been reaching for a tight end. So I just, why not continue to build that O-line, which when they have a good O-line, they're a good team.
I like this pick. I do.
Now we have your pick.
Jim Kelly, LaShawn McCoy, nothing new, more war of words. Every time LaShawn McCoy's been opening his mouth with this crap lately, I think he looks worse and worse and worse. It's not a good look when you're taking a crap on an NFL legend, calling him a loser, saying that you didn't win anything over the course of 4 years. The only reason I even brought this up is because Jim Kelly was rather vocal saying how he feels that the Buffalo Bills should draft another running back to complement James Cook, complement newly acquired Damian Harris. They're not doing that, though. Just felt like speaking on it for a moment. This might be a bit of a reach. This might be a bit of a surprise. This might be a what? Because the Bills do need a little help on the defensive side of the ball. The Bills also could potentially get a receiver here and potentially move Gabe Davis down that depth chart because I do view him as a 3, not a 2. They're not going to do that either. But they are going to get a flexibility play here with a guy who is super versatile and a guy who knows how to play in big games and a guy who I really think could be a true game changer. Might be slightly a bit of a reach. One of Quentin's favorite players on the collegiate champions. I'm going Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia.
Oh my gosh. That's a pick right there.
You like it?
I like it. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like it.
I'll put it to you like this. If the New York Giants didn't trade for Darren Waller, this is a dude that I wanted, and I said that at the beginning of video 1. This dude is a beast, dude. This dude has every athletic advantage, and this dude could be groomed into being truly great. That's how highly I think of this man's skill set.
I like it.
He's not the safest pick. It's a project, but this dude could ball.
Yeah.
This dude could ball. And in that offense, this dude could be a problem. And he's gonna need to be a problem. And this also counters the move that the Jets made with Michael Mayer, assuming the Jets do that.
Well, the Jets didn't do that. The Packers did.
Jesus, did I do it again with this Rodgers?
No, It was the Jets.
Okay. I got confused for a second because I'm still adjusting to Aaron Rodgers playing for a different shade of green. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm still adjusting to this. And then I got the old school Madden cover with Favre as the Packer because when I went to the store and I was purchasing it years ago, I was like, Jet Packer. I cannot purchase anything with a Jet logo on it. Let's get the Aaron Rodgers Packer one when they were honoring. I did it again. Brett Favre Packer one. Enough, Richie. Shut up. Okay, Cincinnati Bengals are up, and Mike Zappy's picking for them.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because we look at this team that, again, they addressed the offensive line in the offseason, and that was what ended up failing them yet again in 2 consecutive seasons. So you can look at also going secondary here. They lost both their safeties, but there really isn't a safety right now that they could take.
But there is a corner you could get here.
There is a cornerback you can get here.
Because, I mean, who would want to replace Eli Apple?
No one. He's the greatest. He's the greatest alive. But I also have to think about this. Tyler Boyd's getting older. By the way, Darnell Washington was probably going to be my pick. But you took
really? Okay.
Yeah.
So me and you really are like-minded with some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think Darnell would.
I think it's also weird how a Darnell is followed by a Darnell. That don't happen every day.
Right.
Okay.
But then I think about this team where Tyler Boyd's 1 year older. Jamar Chase is one step closer to getting that contract. That is going to be ridiculous. And T. Higgins is also going to be due a payday. You're going to have to say goodbye to one of them.
Before you make your pick, I just want to throw this at you. Are you intrigued by a Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama, given that Joe Mixon might be on borrowed time in Cincinnati?
Sir, I got this.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm intrigued. And that's the other thing I was going to talk about because of the rumors that Joe Mixon might not be a Bengal this year.
Right.
So it's I have to stay all in on this season.
Okay.
I have to stay all in on this season, and I have to go after a guy that knows how to get the ball out of the air. Yes, Deonte Banks is there, but that's not the pick.
Okay.
I'm going to go down south. I'm going to go to the SEC. I'm going to go to Mississippi State, and I'm going to draft Emmanuel Forbes. This guy is a stud. He is climbing up people's draft boards quick. He, in his career at Mississippi State, was responsible for 6 returned interceptions for touchdowns. That's a very high number for a defensive back at the collegiate level. This guy has a knack for the ball. He can be a lockdown corner, and if you put him in that secondary, that's going to help alleviate some of the stress of the players you lost. And you can, while Eli Apple is going to be a future Hall of Famer, probably the greatest player, you have to think about his age, But no, so, I firmly believe Emmanuel Forbes will be the pick if the draft goes this way. And Jahmyr Gibbs, Quentin Johnston, those guys make a lot of sense because of the simple fact that both those guys we just mentioned, T. Higgins and Mixon, they're going to be gone. But I think with this Bengal team, because they're still a Super Bowl, their windows right now, you have to play with what you have, and you have to also improve what you need. So
it's a good pick. It's a good pick. It is. It's a good pick. I'm going to be picking for the New Orleans Saints from San Francisco 49ers through Miami Dolphins and Denver Broncos. This basically went through every door possible. Derek Carr is going to improve. Just ask Brett. No, we actually do mean that this time. He actually is going to improve. I think this is a much better situation for him. He's backed with 2 very good running backs in Alvin Kamara as well as Jamal Williams. I do think the O-line needs a little help. I do think the D-line needs a little help. You got guys that are getting older, transitioning. I also think that wide receiver is not a terrible pick here, considering that you have Chris Olave coming off a good rookie campaign, and you have Michael Thomas, who seems to be on the way out of not just New Orleans, potentially the NFL. This might be a bit of a reach, but I feel good about this pick. I am going Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of the runner-ups, TCU.
Wow, Quentin Johnston to the Saints. I like it. You're going to team him up with Chris Olave. It's giving Carr another weapon because you brought him in to.
I need some of that.
Yeah, and you know what? Quite frankly, this Saints team has 2 years to have control of this division. So why not go help out Derek Carr? You could have gone cornerback there. You could have gone edge rusher. You lost Marcus Davenport in free agency.
I strongly considered going corner there, but I felt that this is a move that they need to make that offense a little more dynamic for the new quarterback.
No, I like it. I like the pick a lot. And now it brings this team back on. And We're talking about the team that just, they're picking before the next team are Super Bowl winners.
Indeed.
They lost in the Super Bowl, but they drafted Nolan Smith. They solidified their defensive line. You lost Javon Hargrave in free agency.
And you got those two dinosaurs up front. And I've said it off air recently. Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, middle of that run stoppage, you're looking for an upgrade.
Absolutely. And I think you can look at guys, they already have a one technique, and that's Jordan Davis. So
Indeed.
If you're going to look at defensive tackle here, you got to look at a three technique. You can look at a guy like Brian Brzee out of Clemson.
You're not kidding that Jack Campbell really does look like a giant. Anyway, continue.
They can go Miles Murphy and go get themselves another edge rusher. I see many different directions. They can go Deonte Banks here.
I would be pissed if they go Deonte Banks, because that gives them just such depth and different schemes where all three of them could be on the field at the same time.
Yeah, and Darius Slay, he's a free agent in 2 years.
Indeed.
It was a short-term, long-term deal.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I totally understand what you mean.
So there was, they've been linked to Bijan Robinson.
And obviously
he was there.
On my board, he's off, but in the real thing, he might be there.
He might be there.
I can't see him falling that far, though. I just don't see it.
I'm looking at two players right now.
Okay.
I'm looking at two players for this Philadelphia Eagles team. I'm looking at Deonte Banks.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs. I brought in Rashad Penny, a guy who's coming off an injury. I re-signed Jalen Hurts to a long-term deal. I have Devontae. I have A.J. Brown. I have Dallas Goedert. I need a number 3 wide receiver. Quentin Johnston fell to me, and I was not expecting that. So he's another guy I'm looking at here. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. I forgot to get him off the board. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, buddy. I know you
just drafted him. I forgot to draft him. All right, so Quentin Johnston's off the board.
Josh Downs is out there, though.
Josh Downs is out there, but I'm going to keep my strength. While we had a great offense, our defense was dominant. Deonte Banks, you are a Philadelphia Eagle, and you will be sliding right into the slot position, and now give you 3 great cornerbacks in that secondary, and it helps alleviate the loss of other players they have had on the defensive side through free agency this past year.
I'm going to tell you who I would pick there. I like your pick, don't get me wrong, but I'll tell you who I would have picked there. Really looking at it for all it's worth, I might have taken Mazi Smith there out of Michigan for their need of a younger run stuffer because of the fact that I alluded to about Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph being quality players but very old.
Yeah, and the only reason why I didn't go with him is because, like I said, he's more of a one tech. Jordan Davis is your one tech, and it's hard to have 2 of those out there at the same time. That's the only reason why I wouldn't have. You still have Fletcher Cox for another year. That's going to be starting next to Jordan Davis. So there's going to be other defensive tackles that I believe they can take in the second round. That would be the replacement.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why. So believe me, Mazi Smith was a guy, but Jalen Carter and Mazi Smith, if you compare the two, Jalen Carter is a wrecker on the run and in the pass game, where Mazi is mainly a run stuffing guy. You can look at Siaka Ika. If he's there in the second round, I think he's someone that the Philadelphia Eagles could take, defensive tackle out of Baylor. And then we talk about Mazi. If he's there in the second round, then you could take him then. But that's why there's many different routes we could have gone there. But either way, we're at the Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. They wanted to trade up. They wanted Zay Flowers. He's gone. They need a wide receiver. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster to free agency. Josh Downs is not still on the board. Is that a guy that rings a bell? Should he go there? They can go defensive line. They can go Miles Murphy. What are you going to do here, man?
What I'm doing here is I'm the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm selecting Jahmyr Gibbs because the Kansas City Chiefs made a deal here to acquire the great DeAndre Hopkins. So this is what I'm doing.
Oh, hold on. Wow.
The Kansas City
Okay,
Chiefs select, never mind that. The Arizona Cardinals select Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me finish writing what happens here.
threw a curveball.
DeAndre Hopkins is now.
I like it because that's probably.
It's like you're giving up a second for, you know what I mean? It's not really a first. It is kind of a first. It's not really a first. It's the last pick of the first round.
Yeah. No, I think that's going to. It makes a lot of sense too, man, because you're going to give Mahomes a true number one receiver. Like, he's going to be traded this weekend.
Do you like the Jahmyr Gibbs pick at that spot, though?
For Arizona, no.
You don't like it?
No. Here's why. You traded up, or you didn't trade up, but you drafted Christian Gonzalez. Do you have other needs? Miles Murphy is there. Tyree Wilson is there.
Yeah, and even the play getting a receiver there since you just traded D-Hop.
Right.
But I still feel that there's quality in round 2 potentially for that. I think this is a team that needs to be able to run the ball a little. I like this player.
No, I get it. And you have to look at this too. So you're trading, you're Arizona, you're trading above, because you still have your other pick in the second round. So, yeah, I mean, you're jumping Houston, Pittsburgh.
And those are two teams that have solidified running games with Najee and Co. And then you obviously have young Dameon Pierce in Houston.
I would have drafted a defensive lineman personally. I would have taken Miles Murphy or Tyree Wilson and then taken Jahmyr Gibbs with my second pick, which was going to be in 3 picks.
I'll be honest with you, though. One of those guys you just mentioned are still going to be there.
Possibly.
We'll have to tune in and see how that plays out. Zappy, anything that you want to speak on over the last few minutes now that we are done drafting? What are your takeaways? Or something you want to speak on?
Mean, let me.
I don't think it's that much of a shock that this is how that plays. Not necessarily the player they draft, but D-Hop's going to be a Chief, dude.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. There's no question. So before we proceed, let me pull up our draft grades.
Okay.
All right.
Curious to see this.
Did it give it grades?
I'm going to get these headphones off my head. They are hurting my ears.
Oh, that's right. The draft grades are only if you do the team.
I see. So they didn't give an overall draft grade for the entire.
Right, but we recapped 1 through 16, so we'll give everyone a reminder of how the second half of the first round went. I brought us in. I was at Pittsburgh, and I took Brian Branch, a guy that's going to come in and solidify that defense. What is already a strong strength is going to be even stronger. Detroit, Zay Flowers at 18, a surprise pick, a good pick, a very good pick for a very good offense. I think he comes right in there and complements Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tampa Bay took Broderick Jones at number 19. They need to work on that offensive line. They could have gone Bijon. They could have gone quarterback, but why not build that offensive line? Because we know you're going to be drafting in the top 5 next year's draft. Number 20, Lukas Van Ness. Seattle had already taken Jalen Carter. They now took Lukas Van Ness, and they have their D-line solidified for years to come. 21, the Los Angeles Chargers. They jumped on the opportunity to get Bijan. They grabbed them. Their offense is going to be a lot of fun to watch. 22, you brought in Odell Beckham. You made Lamar happy, but he wanted one more. You got him Jordan Addison. He's coming in. 23, a dream scenario for the Minnesota Vikings. They want a quarterback. They want the heir apparent to Kirk Cousins. Kirk's on his final year of his deal. You get Hendon Hooker, and that's your guy. Number 24, the Jacksonville Jaguars finished off their offensive line by drafting Cyrus Torrance. Number 25, your New York Giants solidified their interior off their offensive line by drafting center out of Minnesota and John Michael Schmitz.
I accidentally put JMC. I typed in JMS, but JMC still works because he is a center. Let's go.
This guy. My Dallas Cowboys at 26 said, hey, we need to continue to rebuild our offensive line. We have guys getting hurt. We have guys that are retiring soon. Let's bring in Darnell Wright. Number 27, the Buffalo Bills make a splash and decide to take Darnell Washington to bring another aspect into that offense that they really haven't had. I like that pick. Number 28, Cincinnati could have gone different routes, but they decided to go after a ball hawk and Emmanuel Forbes. 29, the New Orleans Saints. They drafted all.
There you go.
What's that?
Bye-bye, Eli Apple. I just love that pick.
Oh.
Bye-bye, Eli Apple. That just
right. Yeah, you're going to make Brett mad.
Yeah.
But to finish us off, number 29, the pick that's been traded around by many teams. It went to the New Orleans Saints. You brought in Derek Carr. You have Chris Olave. Let's go ahead and input Quentin Johnston, and let's get to work. Number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles. They were able to solidify their defensive line. Now they worked on their back end and drafted Deonte Banks. And to close out the first round, the Kansas City Chiefs traded away their pick for the rights to DeAndre Hopkins to Arizona, and the Arizona Cardinals decided to take at 31 out of Alabama, Jahmyr Gibbs, running back.
Which Zappy didn't like. He gave his rationale why, gave a few players that they should have took. I still feel that similarly to other drafts over previous years when they were, tied close into picks, one of those three that Zappy mentioned will still land with Arizona regardless. It might end up being this guy in round 2. It's a win for everybody. Kansas City's essentially getting rid of a second-round pick. It's the last pick of the first round. Everybody wins. Kansas City gets a weapon post Tyreek Hill. They did lose Juju to the to the Pats. And I like this. Zappy, good job, man. I love the way you just mowed that down, man. That was like Berman going to town with the quickest 30 or 90 seconds or 120 seconds, just banging it out. Quality, bro. Good show. I can't wait for football season. And
man.
I do want to make a quick mention of this. New York Knicks have an opportunity to advance to the second round in the NBA. Shocker in the NBA tonight with the Atlanta Hawks beating the Boston Celtics in Boston. My New York Rangers better get back at it. We are undefeated on the road in these NHL playoffs, but we are winless at home. Maybe it's a blessing that we're going to go over to Jersey tomorrow, make the trip to Newark. We're taking a 3-2 lead tomorrow, 3-0 on the road, and then we'll finally win a game at the Garden.
Well, you know who is 3-2 lead right now?
Indeed. Tell them about it.
Well, I mean, there's this team out of Texas that you chose to lose a couple nights ago, and we got that one. We stole one in Minnesota. We needed to, and now we have we got game 5.
I was so thoroughly irritated with the Rangers' defeat yesterday that I actually did not make my NHL picks today. I only made my NBA picks because I was just so friggin' angry. It's like we have such a propensity for doing this over the last couple of years. Last year, blowing opportunities to finish series, to take leads in series at home. Ultimately, we won a huge game in Pittsburgh that extended things. Then we win a game 7 at the Garden. Against Carolina last year, similar situation. We go on the road and beat a team that had such a phenomenal home record. Rangers, over the course of the last few years in the postseason, have been a good road team, but they better be tomorrow because this has the eerie vibes of the similar way that we collapsed in the ECF to the Tampa Bay Lightning last year. God, I'm so stressed out about this. I hate what happened. Knicks better close it tomorrow, get some rest.
But to give everyone an update, Stars did win. You already said Hawks won. The Clippers are winning right now in the second quarter, 54-50 in Phoenix, and the Minnesota Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets are tied at 77 at the end of the third quarter.
Another thing I wanted to mention that you brought to my attention earlier today, and I appreciate that. Brian Reynolds, big deal. And I was like, wow, Pittsburgh paying the man. I like it a little. I kind of like it. Brian Reynolds got paid by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's going to be there for the foreseeable future, so that kind of eliminates Zappy's Rangers and my Yankees.
Yeah, he's gone.
From that potential upgrade. And my God, do the Yankees need some help right now and some health. We are struggling.
Do I dare say that the Pittsburgh Pirates may very well be starting to take over that division? They're doing this without O'Neal Cruz.
They are doing it without O'Neal Cruz. They lost a tough one today, the Dodgers. The thing with the Pirates right now that I like that I'm finally seeing from them is that they are investing in the scouting program that produces good players, but they have never been able to keep any of these guys, or they choose not to. and make deals and continue to really upset their fan base, because Pirate fans are a good fan base, but they are tired. They're tired of it. But right now, keeping him, and then you have to, what you just said, O'Neal Cruz, he should be back, I would say right around the All-Star break, he should be coming back, possibly right before, possibly right after. Should be his return date. And, you got a surprise Cubs team. You got a Brewers team that's playing well. Possibly the biggest surprise is how lethargic the St. Louis look, looking old.
They really are, but I'll say this much: no matter what, the Pirates, it's going to be fun to watch. And I like that they re-signed him, because everyone thought Reynolds was out.
Yeah,
so what
sure.
happens when you're winning? People get happy and they want to stay. Winning cures everything.
Absolutely. Winning does indeed cure everything. And I just want to make a quick shout out to myself. On the NL Central preview, I took a little stab and said that Mr. Andrew McCutchen would hit 30 homers this year. I was checking out his stats. I was doing some math, and hopefully he avoids that old man injury that does happen to a lot of players at his age. Andrew McCutchen is going to hit 30 dingers this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
I was so pissed when the Yanks didn't keep him and decided to keep Brett's favorite Yankee, Brett Gardner. I was sort of being serious. I sort of was not. At any rate, for Mr. Zappy, I am Mr. Hicks. Thank you so much for watching our show tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. This is the first time I've ever really done a mock draft live, and I really enjoyed this, and we're going to see how it translates to video, because I'm my biggest critic, and I'm going to go watch both these videos in a short while. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we will be back shortly. Take care.